From USA Today, Trump rolls back DEI across the federal government. Is your workplace next? I love this because this has been the new narrative. After Trump basically said all DEI employees, not like if you are working in these departments, you are now on leave. Your office is hereby closed. And now the narrative has become, is he going to bring this to the private sector? I don't know that the president has the authority to do that. You know, Joe Biden famously tried to mandate vaccines for everybody. I think he was trying to go through OSHA or something. Was that what it was?
It was OSHA.
Trump, I think, may actually be able to do something on this very simply by instructing the appropriate law enforcement to enforce the 1964 Civil Rights Act.
Yeah.
That is, any private business that utilizes protected classes in their hiring will be in violation of the law. And that means DEI is de facto gone.
I mean, DEI is totally illegal. Like, if you look at the laws on the books, discriminating based on any immutable characteristic is illegal in the United States. The fact that it has been around this long is a testament to the fact that, honestly, the left has been so powerful in the United States, even though they'll scream and cry about how they're marginalized, etc. That has been the status quo for the better part of 2 decades, probably the better part of the past 40 or 50 years.
California has it codified in state law. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens there, the battle of Trump v. Newsom.
This is what you need. You need, because the thing with executive orders, of course, is, and the worry is that, I mean, they're great in this case, but then the next guy can come in, the next Democrat can come in and just reverse everything just as quickly as Trump is wiping out whatever Biden did. The same could happen to him. And that's why you need Congress to come in behind these executive orders and codify them into law so that it's not quite so easy to just wipe them out from existence. And that can be done easily with this DEI stuff. And although it is, to both of your points, it is already very much illegal to do this. This is racial profiling, racial discrimination. You could still have could and should have a federal law that bans this explicitly on the basis that it's a human rights violation because you're discriminating against people based on their race.
He got rid of affirmative action and contracting for the federal government too.
Good.
Yeah, that stuff should be illegal.
Yeah.
It's remarkable to me that in the 60s, we're like, hey, maybe we shouldn't have this discrimination stuff. And then shortly thereafter, they said, maybe we should bring it right back on top of the existing law banning it.
The thing about discrimination is if you say people of that kind can't do this, that's discrimination. But also people of that kind get this. That's also discrimination. It's positive discrimination. So it goes both ways.
And I think it's fascinating, too, because you were right that Trump has already done more in 2-3 days than Biden did in 4 years. But Trump has also arguably done more in 2 or 3 days than he himself did in 4 years in his first term. And the difference is, well, there's of course, a lot has changed, and he's learned a lot from the first term. He's got a much better team. But the other thing, too, is that, and this was always the irony of him being labeled a dictator, is that in his first term, he was the opposite of it. In fact, if anything, he had the opposite, he erred too much in the opposite direction. Absolutely. In that he was very shy about wielding his executive power. This time around, he realizes that, hey, I have this power, I can use it, and so I'm going to.
It was to the point where it was a meme. People on the right were saying, please give us the Trump that the left swears that he is. Give us the authoritarian Trump that the left thinks he is.
But when you say Trump did more in 2 days than Biden did in his entire presidency, the issue I take with that statement is that Biden was effectively rolling backwards in his wheelchair down a hill, and Trump is actually climbing the hill. You know what I mean? So I would argue Biden did a whole lot to damage and burn this country down.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. Trump did more in 2 days to help the country. Joe Biden did literally nothing. What ATM fees was a proposal of his.
Yeah,
that was the only
there's got to be
thing.
one nice thing, at least one nice thing.
Yeah, the ATM fees.
ATM fees.
He paid off my student loans. I didn't ask. I didn't sign up for anything. I just got some stupid check in the mail. You paid your loans for 20 years, so you get all your money back, and now you get to pay for it as a taxpayer. I mean, egregious.
It was reversed.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
Yep, they turned to zero. But I was like, thanks for the 11 grand, dude.
That's not a nice thing.
No, it wasn't. But
it's like
not to everyone else.
It's what's
I don't know how to rectify it.
I think people need to understand that Robin Hood wasn't stealing from the rich to give to the poor. He was stealing from the government.
The king.
Yeah. Hey,
right. It was the sheriff who was collecting all the taxes. So in this instance, what Ian is referring to is quite literally the government stealing from the poor to give to the highest income earners in the country.
If you want to correct it, the IRS will accept money.
I can just send them a check.
You can just send them the check.
Shane, on the Green Show earlier, you were saying that Trump wouldn't. Plus, I've heard this sentiment online too, is that if he had gotten to be president in 2020, he wouldn't have had this zeal. He wouldn't have had this.
I saw Andy No say that.
Oh, yeah,
he had
for
to go
sure.
through the trials and tribulations of the last 4 years, I think, to get the Trump we got the last 2 days.
I think that's probably it. Yeah.
He wouldn't have had the same team behind him either.
Yeah, he
or
has a
the
new
Senate or Congress. I mean, come on.
It's almost as if he went through divine trials.
Yes,
to
absolutely.
earn and understand his place, narrowly avoiding death, but
Yes.
by the turn of his head, that made him a forceful president. And we've only seen a couple days.
That's why
It
his
was
portrait looks the way it does.
I think it's a really good representation of the hero's journey. And I don't necessarily think that Donald Trump is coming in to save every single person in the country, but I do think he's coming to redeem the boomer generation. I think that's a big part of this, is he's like, we are going to fix a lot of the things that the boomers did to wreck the country.
You know, what matters to me a lot is the pardoning of Ross Ulbricht.
Yes.
And I know for libertarians, it's largely about the core issues of the case. To me, those matter. But what makes me a bit more emotional here is that Donald Trump, of all of the things he promised, the DEI firings, these people are in his way. Trump has an agenda. He wants to secure the border. He's got a mission that he believes in. And he's going to fire these people, not just because he promised to do it, but he promised to do it because these are the people who obstructed him and wronged him. He already got the libertarian vote. He already won. He's not running for office again. So what does he really benefit by taking the political risk of making this move to keep his word and pardon Ross Ulbricht? Well, he offered his word.
Yeah.
And what I see for America is Barack Obama made promises not kept. Wars, expansion. George W. Bush, wars and expansion.
Yep.
And Joe Biden, wars and expansion. And Donald Trump said, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, he had like a statement on this. They asked him and he said, I don't really care about the guy, but I promised I'd do it, so I did. And that matters. That matters for the spirit of this country and what young people are going to see in their president. I said, I'll do it, and I did.
That's why I would also, on the pardon point, I mean, his first 3 days, who could complain? He's done a lot. But we should also mention that there's been, in the pardoning, there's been, so far, there's been one omission that I very much hope is that this is coming soon, which is the pro-lifers who are sitting.
Yes.
That's right.
Who are sitting in federal prison right now. Some of them are already out, but they're on probation, and they've got this on the record. Some are actually in federal prison right now.
Has he made promises to pardon them as well?
Yeah, he has.
Okay.
And for my money, I mean, what happened to the J6ers, we all know, was outrageous political persecution. What happened to these pro-lifers is the worst of all. This is the worst political
Absolutely.
persecution that we've seen in modern history, in my
100%.
opinion.
What is it?
Well, the Biden administration decided, that they were going to enforce the so-called FACE Act. You know what that is?
I've heard of it like a couple years ago or something.
Yeah, it's the Freedom of Access to Clinics entrances. So this is a 90s era law that made it a federal crime to basically come within X number of feet of the entrance of an abortion clinic if you're a protester and you're blocking, the entrance. But the thing is that that law already had a million problems because you're treating these clinics like this special category of building and giving them the kinds of protections you don't give any other building. But then also this law supposedly offered the same protections to pregnancy resource centers, to crisis pregnancy centers, to pro-life centers. So that was their way of dealing with the inequality of the law. They said, okay, this will also apply to pro-life centers. Well, the problem is that they don't enforce that. And then under the Biden administration, you had, these pro-abortion radicals that were literally setting pregnancy centers, pro-life pregnancy centers on fire. And there was no attempt to track these people down at all. And instead, they decided to go after these pro-lifers, some of whom, there was a case in Tennessee where they were sitting, I believe, outside the entrance of the abortion clinic and praying. No violence occurred. They never touched anyone. They didn't commit any violent act at all. They weren't even shouting at anybody. They were just sitting there praying. And some of these are like elderly women. And the Biden administration comes along and charges them with federal crimes and throws them in federal prison for it.
Unconscionable.
I don't think they were even actually physically obstructing anyone from entering other than just being in space. You'd have to walk around.
That's the thing. You just have to walk around them. They weren't even,
it's not.
It wasn't like chaining themselves to the door or something.
It's not like Black Bloc where they are locking elbows and blocking you from moving.
And that's why I say in any other context, like if they had done that outside of a Home Depot, at worst they get loitering charge, a misdemeanor. It only is a federal crime because the federal government has decided to treat abortion clinics like these sacred temples, which is how the left views
Well,
it.
because they are, in their opinion.
There were
Crazy
some
town.
protesters who were inside the lobby of an abortion clinic, and I think they were praying, and they were instructed, you have to leave or else, and they got charged under this as well, which should just be a trespass slap on the wrist.
Right.
That should be trespassing charge.
Do we
And then
know
you move
who's
on with your life.
advocating for them right now?
I mean, there's,
Get pardons?
yeah, there's been there are many pro-life organizations that have been advocating, and and by the way, Trump has said that he's going to pardon them. So I'm not. There's no indication that he's just going to ignore them and betray them. I'm not claiming this is some great betrayal. Maybe he's waiting. The March for Life is on Friday. Maybe that'll be the time.
That would be
a great time to do it.
Yeah.
I'd like to see it, but the trade-off is he's got to pardon Joe Biden. Because Joe's not going down for any crimes anyway. He's done. He's going out. He's chilling. Might as well.
I mean, I don't know if
Ian
I
has
call
just
that
offended everyone.
Okay,
I
no,
think
no,
everywhere.
no. I'm not offended.
Why is it a trade-off?
Why Joe?
It's
Because
a
it
little-
kind of also indicates he's done something
Yes.
wrong, which is cool.
It's a little left field, but I think if he were to do that
That's
and
Ian's
say,
specialty.
you did a lot of terrible, I think he should pardon him for specific crimes.
Actually,
I think that would
you
be
know what,
more
Ian?
fun.
I think you're right. Actually,
I saw it on Twitter. It's not my idea.
But I'll say why. I think Joe Biden is an awful person who has committed a lot of crimes.
Yeah.
And you look at the crime family, 10% for the big guy, the Burisma scandal, but he is very old and unaware of his surroundings. If Trump were to issue the pardon, acting very magnanimous, it would also require Biden to make an admission of guilt
Yes.
for the things that he did that Trump would pardon him for.
and then
and we're not
Thomas,
going to put him in prison. I mean, he's 80 something.
and Massey was saying last night that if you bring these people before Congress now, like Anthony Fauci, and you ask him, like, why did you lie about gain of function? You said there was none when there was. And if he still lies, then they can hit him even after the pardon. Now they can hit him again for perjury. So he's got to kind of admit, like, this is why I lied to the public.
Ian, I love
don't-
the sentiment, but Joe Biden needs continued ridicule in my mind.
But that's what
Especially
the pardon
for
is.
Pardoning,
Right.
pardoning
No, but-
Fauci. I don't know.
But
I can't get on board with that.
I agree that if you pardon him for specific crimes,
Yeah.
but pardon him for crimes of corruption, you have to get the exact
He's
crime.
going to be called out on this day in this act. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
We'll pardon you for it.
If he says, I pardon Joe Biden for the quid pro quo in Ukraine, threatening to withhold congressionally approved loan guarantees, that's illegal, but he did it. We all know he did, so I pardon him for it.
That would be the first troll pardon.
Right.
Sounds like he's trolling.
I think
I'm okay. Okay, I'm
I
okay
like
with.
troll pardons.
There's a guy who might need a pardon next month, Dr. Eitan Haim. He's a Texas doctor who was a whistleblower at the Texas Children's Hospital.
Yes.
He's got a trial next month. They're trying to put him away for 10 years.
State or
I
federal?
believe so. They say he's violating HIPAA violations. We should look it up. But that guy needs help.
This one's a bit more controversial. Derek Chauvin. I've seen his name being tossed around. I think you tweeted it, maybe.
There's federal and state charges. Trump absolutely should pardon Chauvin on the federal charges.
There's a lot of evidence that George Floyd had, like fentanyl, norfentanyl, I think it was caffeine, nicotine, and THC in his system, 5 drugs when he died,
Yep.
that it was a heart attack, not an asphyxiation.
and he didn't get a fair trial. There's no way he got a fair trial.
I was going to say, I don't care about any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't care about the drugs. I don't care about whatever. He didn't have a fair trial.
Just on the trial alone, I think that's if this is all about undoing the weaponization of the justice system, it should be done on the trial.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.